just get another minute. I just have us at 5 right now. Looks like a few more people joining. I'm getting the YouTube channel started. Make sure I got all the muted. Okay. See, we've got just for quorum, we've got Mike, Julia. Give it another minute. We don't have quorum yet. Good afternoon, Mike.
What's that?
I said good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. All right. Gwen is on. Make sure Gwen.
We got Gwen. We need one more, right?
Yep. Need one more. And we are live now on the YouTube channel and recording as well. So we'll just give it another minute. We need one more person to join. Karen was going to be able to. If we don't have Karen, we could probably start as a non-meeting. We don't have anything officially to vote on right away. If she joins, then we can officially call to order. Yes, because we do have some public members, so maybe we can go through public comment and.
Is Karen the only remaining member that was supposed to come?
Yes. Yeah, we had. I think Marilee and Maureen were not able to.
There should be one more then. There's 8 of us.
And Cheryl as well. Cheryl should be able to join.
Okay.
So just give them another minute here.
Probably stuck in traffic.
Yeah, it's a long commute. Black Rock's usually backed up.
Thing, you know?
Yeah. Black Rock's usually backed up this time of day.
Yeah.
All right, Karen is now joining. So I think that gets us there, right? So I got Karen on. Make sure she's unmuted. Okay, so I've got myself, Juliet, Mike, Gwen, and Karen on. So we do have quorum. We will go ahead and we'll call the meeting to order. And I'm expecting maybe one other board member. And I'll keep an eye on the waiting room for others to join. All right, so let me go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:04. And the Region 9 Board of Education special meeting on June 3rd at 5:04 is now in order. And our second item on is public comment. So I will, we have a few members of the public on, so I'll open it up for public comment, and per usual, I'll ask for, if you can keep your comments brief, 2 minutes or less. If you could announce your name and address so we can get that into the record for the minutes. And I will, again, keep an eye out for people, so either wave your hand or do the little hand symbol over on the participant side so we can see you. And I'll announce you and have you go ahead and give your comment. So, and board members, if you can help me look for anybody from the public with hands raised and waving.
I think
Scan
Suzanne
through. It looks
Privet.
like Suzanne. Yep. Okay, Suzanne, 1 second and unmute you. All right, Suzanne, you should be unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to ask about communication. I know, I'm sure Gina planned on sending information out, but I just wasn't sure since the people who live around the school don't have children in the school. Our communication is, limited to what goes out to either us or everybody, and not the school group. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is Reading we have no newspaper and we have very little communication. So I'm particularly concerned about Reading, people in Reading finding out, unlike Easton, who has the Easton Courier, and they tend to have a lot of communication. We don't have any. So I just wanted to mention that. That's it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
She did not.
And there will be.
She didn't get her address.
Yeah, it's Suzanne. Yep.
Suzanne lives on Barlow Drive.
Yes. Yeah, and we will. There will be some about the communications when we get into the discussion on the graduation ceremony. All right, Tracy. So give me 1 minute here.
Okay, I just unmuted
Tracy,
myself.
you should be. Yep, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll be very brief because this has nothing to do with graduation whatsoever.
Okay, can we get your name?
Sure,
Sorry, name
this
and
is
address for the record first.
Tracy Kulikowski, Tracy Kulikowski, 73 Drummer Lane in Reading. I will next year have an 11th grader who will be starting AP, have a series of APs and honors classes, and I will have a 9th grader. So I'm here to beg and plead and say whatever I need to say to please, please, please have more interactive learning next year. The last 2 weeks have been brutal, a grind. We are struggling to get through the next 48 hours, and I will be so happy doing a happy dance on Friday afternoon when we get everything turned in. Particularly for my son, who is the 10th grader, and this is with honors chemistry. This has been a grind. So anything we can do, baby steps, anything, we'll take anything, any additional structure, any live instruction in a schedule, we will happily suck it up and take it. So that is all I wanted to say. I think Todd's muted.
All right, thank you. Unmuted here. Yeah, anyone else for public comment? Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Anyone else for public comment?
Don't see anybody.
I think that's it then. Okay, and it looks like Cheryl is joining. She should be on here in a minute. So why don't we go ahead and get started then? I don't see any other public comments, so let's move to board member comments. And maybe I'll just go down the list. Juliet?
No comment. No comment.
Okay, thank you, Juliet. Mike, any board member comment?
Well, I don't know if Gwen is going to speak, but I would echo Ms. Kulikowski's sentiments and urge that we try to do whatever we can to enhance moving forward. We know that we're kind of stretched and we're doing everything, learning on the fly, but anything we can do to improve our model and any assistance or resources that the board can provide, I would encourage we take advantage of.
Thank you. So I'll move down the list. Gwen?
Yeah. I would also, I read the little firestorm on social media this weekend, and I think there's just an overwhelming desire for direct instruction. And If, I think we have to be prepared for that in the fall. And I understand that some self-motivated students have done really well with the flexibility and enjoyed being able to, do their things at their own pace. But I don't think, from what I've read and from what I've heard from other parents, that's not the majority of folks who are enjoying the flexibility. I've heard an overwhelming need for structure, interaction, discussion, and connection. I think that the social, and you can't just sort of read Romeo and Juliet and then write about it. When you learn about it is when you talk about it with your peers, I think. So I think we need to be definitely moving to that for the fall. That would be my strong opinion. And I'm a little bit confused by the refrain of for every kid who wants structure, there's another kid who can't be in front of a screen for 8 hours a day, because that's not what I've seen in our neighbors in Weston. They're not doing 8 hours of straight learning in front of a computer every day. They're doing a model that seems really humane and works out really well. So I hope that we can investigate some of that and how it did work. I don't want anybody to be burned out. But other districts do seem to have solved the issues around privacy, and teachers in other districts have children as well. And so whatever support we need to give to our staff, we need to figure out how to give it to them, because we need to be in a much better place this fall if we have to go home again, which I sincerely hope that we don't. And so the second part of my comment would be that whatever we can do as far as prepping our physical space for getting kids back, we obviously, I think the board supports that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Karen, any board member comment?
Basically the same thing. I've heard from a couple of parents how spotty, shall we say, or uneven the virtual learning experience has been. Some teachers have gone above and beyond, do an amazing job, and others, there basically is no interaction at all from one end of the week to the other, is what it was told to me. They'll get a lesson at the beginning and they're told, it's due at this end, and they'll get maybe some feedback just on the assignments, no actual interpersonal feedback at all. So it does make the kids feel very disconnected from school and from their schoolwork. So I think that we could definitely do a better job.
Thank you. Marilee is not on, and Maureen, I don't see has joined. Cheryl?
I just want to emphasize, I think people have made comments about uneven. The feedback I have received from the community is that they are recognizing that the work is being, I want to focus on the positive for a minute. They are focusing on the effort that the staff, the administration, the boards. When I do talk to people in person, they do say, we know it's a lot of work. We understand, we appreciate the work you're doing, and in many cases, with the board members, we appreciate you're doing it for free. So people are acknowledging that. And so I do want to emphasize that to all of you, that it's not just bad. People are recognizing the good that's being done. And everyone that I talk to, whether they agree with it for their child or not, does emphasize that it's everybody, literally globally, is probably just trying to figure out how to make this work. And we all know we're just trying as we go. So I do want people to feel that is being communicated, and I want people to hear that. So, everything that, what has been communicated, I just encourage people, give us feedback. We're working on it. You see the Department of Education, we're following Connecticut's lead. And so there's a lot of ambiguity, and, so whatever we can do to support communicating what's going on, even if we don't know, we're still trying to figure it out. I'm happy to do that as a board member, and I would suspect that other board members would be willing to do the same. So.
And then for my comment, since we can't add items onto the agenda as a special meeting, I do want to yield some of my time to Dr. McMorrin and Dr. Pearson-Ugal, just to not necessarily respond, but to talk about, just give a quick update on what is going on with the planning so I'm going to yield some of my time to them. So I don't know if Tom or Stephanie, if you would, which one of
Yeah,
you would like
thanks.
to go first?
Thanks, Todd. Good evening, everybody. I got to tell you that I am meeting every week with the superintendents in the region. And superintendents from other districts are saying to me, oh, I've heard that Region 9 is doing it right and we're not doing it right. People are complaining to me that they heard about some excellent teaching that's going on at Joe Barlow High School. And that's from Weston, from Westport, from Bethel, from Brookfield. And what I think that we should assume, and I make taking this as an assumption, is that in every district, there has been some exemplary instructional design, some synchronous and asynchronous learning that's worked well, and then others that hasn't worked well. I am fiercely pro Region 9, ER9, and have personally participated in some exemplary instruction. I also believe that there has been some less than exemplary, less than what we would get in the classroom. So I don't ask people not to check in with their neighbors and friends, but I do ask us all not to assume that what everybody else is doing is phenomenal and what we're doing is terrible, because that's simply not the case. I think we're all more or less in the same place. I do believe that if we are forced to go into distance learning in the fall or sometime in the 2021 school year, that it'll be by design, not by accident. And we will see teachers have learned the lessons of these last couple of months. I am today where I am every other day. I do not believe, this is Tom McMorrin talking to you after 13 years. There is no finer faculty than the faculty of Joe Barlow High School. And I put them up against anybody you choose to put them up against in the world, not in the region, the world. And there has been some exemplary work, there's been some good work, and there's been some shoddy work. Because when you have 100 people, you're all over the place. But my experience has been, put your faith in the teachers and the administrators and good things are going to happen. I do think that we can do a far better job than we've done in the last couple of months. But I also think that anyone who's afraid that somehow our kids in Easton and Reading are behind now, I just don't believe it. I do not believe it. I think that our kids had a terrific year from August until the 12th of March. And I think a lot of good stuff has happened at the high school since then. There has been extensive planning going on in the last several weeks, thinking through all the implications of reopening in the fall or not reopening in the fall. And I'm grateful to the members of the Region 9 board for saying, what can we do now? What can we invest in now so that we're better positioned in the future? In other districts, the districts that are often cited to us, there are teams of people in Weston, in Wilton, in Westport, in Darien. I was in Darien's central office a couple of months ago. There are 56 people who work in that central office. I was in Fairfield's central office. There are more than 70 people that work there. Do you know who's masterminding ours? Dr. Stephanie Pearson-Ugal, who's doing an exemplary job. Unbelievable in the last 2 months, from sunrise to sunset, on getting us into this, coordinating, troubleshooting, getting us through graduation, and then already thinking about the fall. So I want us to have faith in ourselves and in each other. And yes, we have spent some of your funds thinking about next year, and we're going to ask for some more. But don't be afraid, because there are people in Wilton saying to their leaders, why aren't you acting like the folks in Reading? There are people in Westport saying, how come you're not doing what the social studies department is doing at Joe Barlow High School? So I know this conversation is about graduation, something that's been really well thought out, and and I guess I'm sorry, I apologize for being too pro Barlow in this commentary, but I know social media is a buzz with all kinds of concerns. And I'm gonna say what we say all the time. Your kids are getting a very solid, very good, very caring education. It's been true before March 13th. It's been true from March 13th till today. It'll be true right through next week. And you know, Stephanie is in charge of this, so let me stop blathering at you and pass it over to her.
Thank you. So you all should have received the reopening update this afternoon. That will also be shared with members of the community as well as staff, hopefully today. As Dr. McMorran shared, we have really been working on the reopening and curriculum by design for next year, as opposed to responding to the crisis situation that we were placed in March. That planning has been going on for some time. So there's obvious preparation that needs to be done in our facilities, but there's also a great deal of curriculum work that needs to occur. So I have been working with department chairs, with other content leaders, with the administrative team to do a review of all curriculum areas so that we can begin to design units that might be flipped into a distance learning model in the absence of a clear calendar plan of when that might occur. It is difficult to operate in the unknown, and yet we are certainly doing the best to move forward with that design. And that design includes identifying the technology resources that are currently free, that will no longer be free next year, which resources are used most frequently by teachers. Sometimes it varies by level, sometimes it varies by content area, but making sure that we can secure those resources. And in some cases, that means making some shifts in plans for budget monies. In addition to that, teachers will be soliciting additional input in order to determine the content that might need to be shifted, content that needs to be reinforced because it simply couldn't be addressed to the extent or to the depth that it would have been this spring. And so for the sequential courses in particular, that's quite relevant. So work has already started and will continue over the summer to make sure that the plan for next year includes all of those things. So it is a tremendous amount of work, and I anticipate that in terms of how can the board support that moving forward, by design, we need to allow more time for our teachers to work with one another and to make the curriculum revisions needed so that the experience for students and the learning is at a level that is more equitable in terms of this experience for students. I also think that as we move forward, we can establish some benchmark expectations for our teachers with respect to interactions with students, live learning, the shifts that need to occur from a model that's a brick and mortar model compared to a distance learning model. If you look at the way a teacher spends his or her day in a live learning model, it's very different than the way time is designed when you're planning for distance learning, because so much of the emphasis is on preparation when one is teaching in a distance learning model. And then the shift goes from the live whole group to some live whole group and probably a lot of small group check-in, because that's how we're monitoring understanding, in addition to turning in assignments. The assessment model is very different in a distance learning situation. So we are working on all of those things. I do hear the concerns. One of the things that we will be offering parents as well as teachers and students at the high school level is an opportunity to participate in focus groups, to share feedback, to give additional input as we design for next year. And as I had mentioned to the Region 9 board previously, there will also be a parent survey that will go out later this week that will gather additional information from parents as well.
Yeah, so I don't mean to be overly hot about this. I do hear the expressions of folks that have spoken, of Tracy's comments earlier, but I don't want people to think that somehow magically you drive across the line to another town and everything is phenomenal. It's similar everywhere, and we want to get better at it. My faith is with the faculty at Barlow. I know that they will get better, that they will rise to it, that we'll be in a position, if we have to do this in the fall, when where more and more parents can say, yeah, that worked for me. But so I apologize for getting hopped up. And I'm just curious to know from Tracy, are those all diplomas behind you there? That's yeah, so it's a highly educated household. You deserve
yes, those are 5 different degrees between my husband and I, and he's got a welding patent in there before he went to medical school. So that's our other issues. We're not home during the day.
Yeah, I understand.
So,
and as part of our planning is to think about how, if we have to go into distance learning in the fall, how to do it so that it's very mindful of people who are both parents have got to work and they've got to be elsewhere in the design. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. That is our diploma wall. That's what we call it.
All right, yes, thank you both, Stephanie and Tom, for the update. And again, we're in board member comment, so we can't have a dialogue around this, unfortunately. But I will, we have our next regular board meeting on the 23rd of June. So we will add it as an agenda item there, so we can do discussion around it. We can have Stephanie go through the plan as it is right now and as it's evolving. And any other items that we might need to make purchases out of the year-end unexpended funds that we have, if there's anything else that needs to be done before we wrap up the fiscal year. And then also if there's anything that needs to be discussed at a joint board as well around reopening. We do have a joint board meeting on the 16th that we could potentially add to the agenda. But I think specifically for Region 9, we will add this on the 23rd of June for our meeting so that we can, ask some questions and look at any other, purchases and so forth that need to be done. And we can have some dialogue around it, since we're limited in this meeting. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move on then to the actual discussion possible action item, which we call the special meeting around for the graduation ceremony for class of 2020. And I know there's been a lot of work going on, sitting in some of those meetings, and Karen has as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer and let you tell us about the work and the planning that's happening, and then we'll open it up for board discussion.
Okay, so this really has been a true community effort with students and parents and Barlow folks engaged in planning a 3-pronged celebration of the class of 2020. So within the document, everything is planned out. We are adding to it daily. So as Todd pointed out, it is still a draft. We are fine-tuning everything as we move along. The basic concept for the drive-through ceremony. So we'll have the virtual ceremony that will be published around June 17th. That's the formal ceremony with the speeches, just the traditional Barlow ceremony. We'll have our musical groups playing. It takes time to edit because everything has to be filmed and recorded separately and then put together. That's why there's a little lag time. Plus, we'd like to include some footage from the drive-through ceremony. And then we have a student celebration as well that our students are putting together. So the focus of my presentation today is what's going to happen on campus, we hope, on June 11th. So we will have a diploma distribution ceremony, and cars will be entering into Barlow from Turney Road. They will make a right into Barlow Drive. Groups of students will be organized by advisory group, and they will be within that advisory group of 10 or 15 students broken in half. And so we'll have about 5 students and families in one car, each per family, arriving every 15 minutes. Okay, so that gives us about 10, 15 cars on campus at a time as we're moving through. We're going to establish 2 lanes on Barlow Drive, a gold lane and a white lane. Okay, each advisory group will get, at the first stop, they will get a placard. It will be gold with their name in big print. We'll put it under the windshield wiper. And that's so folks can direct them into the correct lane. And then as they come down the lanes, so the white lane will be the bus loop. The gold lane will be the outer loop with the parking. And as they come through, there will be a station, and students actually do get to get out. The health officials allow this. They will have a table with a diploma. We'll be able to see the name from the placard. A faculty member, socially distanced and masked, will walk up to that table, put the diploma down. Student will get out of the car when signaled, pick up their diploma, walk up on a little stage, have a photo op, get back in their car, and then there'll be a couple stops for awards while still in the car, and then the PTSA gift. We're going to have, I think Walter named it, the zipper-like effect. So we're going to alternate between loops. We've gone out on the site and we've looked and we made sure that the photo opportunities will not be blocked by the cars going through. And so we're looking at all that. We'll also have a tent set up between the 2 loops for dignitaries. So we'll provide an invitation to board members, to members of town government. We'll have the X's for where the chairs may be, and you can sit there for a while and rotate through. There will be no parking at all in the front of the school. All parking for the workers will be in the back senior lot. And we have a limit on the number of people working as well. All workers and students will be asked to be masked. They are allowed, the students are allowed to take their masks off for the photo. So when they pick up their diploma and they have their official photo, they can be unmasked. That's approved. The other is we have volunteers who will be taking our photos, and we have a system set up. They have been very generous with their time. And the ceremony, I never even said this, is going to start at 12 noon. And it is our goal to be done by 4:30. We say 12 to 5, but it's going to probably be 12 until 4:30. And we do think it can happen because our run through with students picking up their locker supplies and returning books has been pretty flawless in the back of the school. And our students and parents are really good at following directions. And we have not had any problems in regard to that. And people are very flexible. We plan to, once we gain approval, send out communications to families so that they can plan and know when their pretty much 15-minute window is for arriving on campus. We also plan to send out an email and a flyer to residents on Barlow Drive and on Cricklewood and Turney Road so that they know between 11:45 really probably and 5 o'clock on the 11th, there'll be more traffic in that area. We'll have 6 police officers along with Reading PD. We may have some volunteers helping to just keep things moving. We're pretty confident we can make it work very well. There's tremendous detail within the document. I'm not going to go through every last moment. As we enter into the loops backward, so the cars will enter backwards through the loops. So everyone's, you come in, you make a left turn, and then you make a left turn as to go down Barlow Drive and leave. That's where faculty can bring lawn chairs behind the fence, and they can sit and have some signage and wave to students as they're leaving campus. And we have, I think, over 40 faculty members who have volunteered to just hang out and rotate in. We also will, to announce the students as they approach the stage, for the most part, it will be their advisors from their advisory groups. So teachers have said, I'd like to announce my advisory group, and they'll call each student by name as they move forward. So we're very excited. There will be decorations. We have parent committees who have been invaluable in doing this. We have meetings at 6 o'clock in the evening for the past 2 weeks, putting this together. And I think the students they're starting to get excited. It was good to see them yesterday and today. So I'll take questions. I don't know if Todd wants to fill anything in before we move forward. He's been a part of the meetings. Karen has been part of the meetings as well.
No, that was a great job. And again, thank you and the committees and Karen for all the hard work. I know we've got a lot still to do, but the plan is coming together under all your leadership and everything you've been doing. From a budget perspective, if we just wanted to throw that out for the board, I know we started looking at that today, and then I'll just open it up for the board members for any questions. So I was just looking, I think we had an overall, what was it, a budget around 6,000 for it.
That was what we had for the O'Neill. Yep.
Yeah. And we're significantly under that still, I think, at this point in the planning, and should stay under that. I think last I looked, we were about 4,500 or so. So I think we should still be in good shape on an overall budget right now.
The additional police will be the cost.
Yeah.
The added cost.
So we'll share the budget items. I know that's being drafted, and there's another committee meeting tomorrow for them to finalize some of their items that they're like balloons and some of those things that we were still looking at. So we'll share that out with the board members as well. But I just wanted to let everybody know we're still under our budget where we need to be. And I'll open it up for questions then for board members. Everybody should have hopefully got the document yesterday, had a chance to look through it.
I just need to ask Jen a quick question. Jen, on the list I have for the photographers, there's 2 people with no contact information at all. Helene Hauk and Stephanie Bolton. I don't know.
So I think I received those through the PTSA folks. So if we can reach out to them, we should be able to get their numbers.
Okay, or even emails for them.
Yeah.
Phone number at this point would probably be quicker, just in case they don't see it.
Steph Alton's on the Reading board. So Stephanie Alton's on the Reading Board of Ed.
You can just look it up on the ER9.
So yeah, S. Alton at ER9 probably would do it.
Yep.
Thanks, Gwen.
And nobody knows.
Anytime. Sometimes I have an answer.
And then the other thing that, since we spoke recently, was if you need more decoration for the stage for flowers and such, Gilberti's has offered to loan us whatever you need. So just let me know.
All right, great.
That's nice.
Oh, and the video, Todd, I left a message for Matthew Pagliaro, and I have not heard back yet. So I'll let you know. And that's it.
So we'd really like to just get back to work. That's our goal.
With you or any comments. I think Jennifer would also be good to tell about what kind of next steps are, like whose approval besides the board, and what that process is as well.
Yeah, and Tom is reaching out to the town officials to get their final stamp, and then we'll just move on. If we need to tweak something, we'll tweak it.
I mean,
You're muted, Tom.
as well.
Tom,
Yeah,
you're
hold on,
muted.
I mean,
Sorry. We don't have any holds or restraints from the Department of Public Health in Reading. They're supportive of the plan. And I spoke with Chief O'Donnell today, who's ready to do whatever it takes to make it work. So it's a green light for the ceremony.
Great.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, so first I want to thank Jen for your hard work and this impressive packet of 30 pages for a graduation ceremony. And believe me, I understand it's not your average graduation ceremony, but the level of detail and the thought that went through this is amazing. And I'm really hopeful that you're on the reopening committee or the district committee. I would love to get 30 pages, but anyway, moving forward, I think this is great. It gives lots of detail, which is very helpful. Couple questions, some that were answered. You're going to notify the neighbors. That's fine. The costs are in line basically with the O'Neill Center, and even if they were a little more, I don't think any of us would have any objection to that. The question I did have that wasn't in the packet that I think you did address was board member attendance. Normally this is hosted by the board, and so I kind of like for the board to be there, but obviously not if it's going to present any kind of health concern. So we're just, bit players in the big scene, but I just was interested whether board members were going to attend and how that was going to work, and I will let you continue to work that out. That's fine.
We can address that question actually, because that did change. There was in the committee meeting that we had last night, we had talked about it. So the document is a living document and it was updated into there today. But there will be an area with a tent covering for board members, for the select persons from the town, any other officials that would like to be there. Spots marked off so they can rotate in and out if they can't stay there the entire time through the 5 hours. So yes, there will be opportunity for us to be there and be part of it, of the overall ceremony.
Okay.
And obviously with masks on and so forth.
Right. And so that was one of my questions as well, is do we have any masks in case somebody shows up without a mask?
We do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. They came
We
in
do.
today.
Yes.
So we're good.
Excellent. That's important. I did have one question, and I wouldn't expect that you would know the answer. Maybe Walter would know the answer, but this kind of goes into my area of expertise. Whereas we're showing a 4x4 platform or stage, 2 of them on alternating sides, and then we have, it says a 3-step stair.
So I could speak to that actually. So we're renting those platforms.
Okay.
And the 3 steps are very, I don't know, they're very small steps. So it's as if a female student was wearing high heels, they would not be stressed walking up.
Okay, because I'm worried about code being too high, and especially students won't be in the O'Neill Center. They'll be getting out of their car, so I don't want anyone falling off a platform onto the pavement or anything like that, especially if we have flags around and that, like. So I just want to make sure that.
And we got some clarification. Walter came back on that 2-foot tall stage.
Yeah.
Correct. Nothing more than 2 feet, right?
It's
Or else
24
you need a
inches.
rail.
Yeah,
And part of
24
that was-
inches.
Okay.
So that there's no rail, students don't have to touch anything when they
No,
stand up
no,
on
and
that.
that's good. I just want to make sure we're not higher than 24 inches.
No, we're not.
We're not.
Okay.
Yeah, we got clarification today on that, so it'll be in the revised version.
That
of the
was my
document.
11:30 meeting.
Okay. And so we don't expect any significant changes to this other than incidental logistical changes, right? So
Problem solving, that's the only changes would be problem solving changes.
right. And so again, I will reiterate, thank you very much to Jen, to the parents, to the students, to everybody who really pulled together to work on this plan, because I think we've come a long way, and I think it's really important that in a challenging year where seniors don't get a senior prom and they don't get a senior trip and they don't get, to see their classmates for the end of the school year, it's really important that we do all we can to recognize their accomplishment, because it's not any less than it has been in previous years. They have graduated Joel Barlow High School, and I think that it's important that we recognize how proud we are for that accomplishment.
Yep, and the community, we could not have done it without the community support. The number of hours that it takes to put something like this together, it only works if you have the entire community working along with the same goal in mind. And that's what came through.
Well, thank you to everyone again. It's wonderful.
Board member questions, comments? Again, the document. Yeah, sorry, I saw Gwen. Go ahead.
Okay,
Gwen.
this is kind of silly, but just making sure that at the end there's a plan for the balloons so that they
So we don't pollute. Yes, we have
Thank
a
you.
plan.
I
Okay.
had to say it. I
They're
should
not
have known
going
you
in
were on
the
top
air.
of it.
It's not happening. Okay.
No balloon release. Thank you.
No.
Jen. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and that was, yeah, and as well as, dropping, masks and things like that, any signage. There is a section in the document, and was talked about last night, that it's being updated on cleanup in general afterwards, so that all signs are taken down, any masks or anything like that were left, or gloves and balloons, everything's disposed of, so we don't leave anything behind on the campus. So yes, maybe some windows to wash, but after the painting, but
Yeah, stuff on
everything
the
else should be
ground is
cleaned.
easy to pick up. Balloons and there's been a balloon in my neighbor's tree for about 1.5 years now. It like makes me crazy.
Oh yeah, well,
Like hire a
we'll
tree
try not
guy
to
to go
contribute
get
to
it.
that. Thank you. Cheryl, I think you had your hand up, Cheryl.
Yeah, I was just going to ask with respect to it sounds like we'll have PPE for the teachers, the staff, anybody who forgets it or whatever, and I guess cleaning. It sounds like we'll have cleaning products, maintenance thing.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that everyone who is participating, obviously in addition to the families, have the appropriate safety gear and that they feel safe as well. So it sounds like that's good. So.
And
I just do want to
discussion
say, Todd, that document, I'll echo Mike's comments, that is a very impressive document. It's you could tell a lot of thought, love, care went into it. Pay attention to details. It was very impressive. So kudos to all of the people that coordinated. Jen, I see your leadership here, so appreciate your efforts there. And I really do hope that it's a memorable ceremony. It seems like it will be for the graduates. So.
And Todd did provide the framework for that. So just so he gets a
Nice job, Todd.
kudos as well. I know I'm not.
They did all the work. They did all the work.
He gave me the outline.
Yeah, exactly. They did all the work. So I guess our board members clear then for participation, where, there's a map in the document, where to go and park and all that for instructions, because it's a little different than going to the O'Neill Center this time. So nobody go there.
We will also send out, as we do every year, an official invitation to the board. We are just delayed because we wanted to get this approval, and then you will get an official, would you like to come to the ceremony? And you'll be directed with the details then. We'll give you windows or ask you what works for your schedule. We don't expect, if you happen to be the father of a graduate, we wouldn't expect you to stay there the entire time. But knowing when people are arriving and coming will help us plan, making sure everyone has a seat. We have a little hospitality area. Jen mentioned, the dignitary tent, and so we'll accommodate that, but look for that email in the next couple of days.
And we'll also have a cooling station set up for the workers. So everyone working, if it's 90-degree day out in front of the school. We can rotate people through. The nurse will be on site. Reading Ridge will have a full crew at the fire station with the ambulance. They prefer to stage it there than on site. So we've done all that safety stuff as well.
And although we have rain dates, we're considering if it's raining, we have umbrellas. We know, and the board knows, we've had some wild weather in the evenings of our graduation. And so we're hoping to get the ceremony in before really violent thunderstorms and things happen. We would cancel, and that would be Tom's call if it's going to be obviously dangerous weather. And we'd be looking for a rain date of Friday, possibly Saturday, if it was going to be horrible. We're hoping the weather will cooperate. And even if it's a little drizzly, we have canvases set up over the stages. We'll have umbrellas, and we'll be able to still have the ceremony.
And again, there's another committee meeting tomorrow evening. So for the board members, I'll add you to the document, because again, it's kind of a living document as we're getting questions and details worked out and updating it. So I'll share that link out to you guys, so you'll have the latest information in there. Because it does, I mean, there are meetings again that happened today, and more details got worked down in it. So make sure you continue to have the latest information there. And it's not necessarily part of the ceremony, but the overall, I don't know if we talked any about like the video and some of the other things that are being worked on as well.
Yeah, we're doing the filming for those parts. In fact, tomorrow there'll be some filming going on. We'll have those of us who are giving speeches, the students, they'll be coming to the school to be filmed, to give their speeches at a podium. I'll reach out to you, Todd, because we'd like you to be part of that ceremony, at least get your image on there. We'll be reading the names of all the graduates, and that video ceremony will mirror what we typically have when we're at the O'Neill Center, the student speeches, as Jen said, the musical selections. And then we have a slide for each graduate that will be displayed.
Yeah, and I think there's an outline of the
program.
The program in the back of the document. So so those board members that haven't been to a graduation ceremony recently or at all, what the typical steps are with the speeches that we have, the recognition of the military and so forth. Those are all in there, and we'll tend to follow that same schedule. Mike, you had a question?
Yeah. So what is the plan with the video? Because it would be my preference that we provide a video for every graduating student. I would rather it not be, you can purchase photos and you can purchase the video. I would think that given the challenging circumstances this year, it would be appropriate for every student to get that video, with no charge.
That is the plan, Mike.
Right.
And the photos are actually going to be gratis as well for the most part. And if people want to order more from the photographers themselves, rather than print them at home themselves, they'd have to pay at cost. That's it.
And that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I just think giving them the video is appropriate for this. That's great.
Any other questions or comments?
So are you looking for a motion, or do we not need to approve this?
That was going to be my next question out to the board. I think it would be good to have a motion to just approve it within the budget guidelines, or as it evolves or something to that effect, just so that we as a board do put our approval.
I think it's important too, just to take the liability off of administration and everything, that this was approved by the board in this alternate format.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. So unless any board member objects, otherwise then I would look for a motion to approve the graduation ceremony plan or something to that effect. Whoever wants to make a motion.
I can do it unless somebody else wants to.
Go for it.
Go ahead, Mike.
So, I would move that the Region 9 Board of Education approve the graduation ceremony as outlined in the draft plan, and direct administration to make any logistical changes they deem to be appropriate.
Second,
Who was the second? Sorry,
Gwen.
Gwen, thank you. All right. It's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any other further discussion? So I think again, we'll make the document available so board members have the latest version, budget dollars and all that as it gets finalized here over the next day or two through the committee meetings.
Right. And I don't want to prolong it, but as I was thinking about this, what happens if, because I'll tell you, I'm deemed essential, I guess, my occupation. I don't get paid if I don't work. So I'm out there every day. And I have noticed that when I drive by the Ridge Market, there are groups of youths standing together. And I noticed that at one of the playgrounds at one of the other schools, I saw groups of people. So I'm wondering, and again, I'm not trying to suggest anything. I'm just wondering what happens if a family, after they loop through, want to stop somewhere on our property and take photos. I mean, I know it's all spelled out in here, but I don't want us to be the policemen either. But is there's some plan that there are law enforcement or someone that's going to make sure that doesn't happen, so that we're I don't want Todd out there yelling at people not to go.
I'll do it.
That's why we're hiring
Pile on,
police.
you kids.
That's why we're hiring police.
The police
Yeah.
are going
Yeah.
to act as the
Plan.
police and keep people moving. It also is Jen's outstanding organization in keeping that line of traffic moving. We don't anticipate lines of people, which would then be very tempting to get out of the car. And again, to echo what Jen said, in our trial run of the seniors picking up their caps and gowns and their locker contents, they really did comply. They took this very seriously and maintained social distancing. And we're so encouraged by their support, their resiliency, the parent community. We don't anticipate a problem, but as Jen said, we do have police on at hand.
Fantastic. And is
Yep,
it
they'll
true,
be
Todd,
posted
you're buying
around.
dinner for everyone at the spinning wheel afterwards?
Well, it'll have to be carry out, right? Or we have to sit 6 tables apart from each other.
Outside.
Just verifying,
Outside.
that's all.
Good luck getting a reservation.
Yeah, right. It might be a little crowded. Any other questions, discussions? I know one other safety thing that we were thinking about, the temperature check for all the volunteers, police officers, everybody that's outside of a vehicle. I think we'll have that confirmed again to make sure we follow, CDC guidelines around that. But that was another item, and nobody's getting out of their car. That is, again, everybody stays in except for the graduate to get out, get the picture, and then back in. That's the plan. All right,
Jen,
so
one more second. I just heard back from Matt Pagliaro. He doesn't have the company anymore for the video. So if you want to reach out to, does anybody on the board know of anybody who has a video company? We're sort of down a videographer for the day of the event.
I jumped to John Stinson, who volunteered, so he's looking into it to see if he can help. But yeah, if anybody does, we do need another videographer. So anybody watching on the YouTube channel, you must call in if you know someone. But we
Breaking up a
need
bit.
another volunteer on the
Todd,
video.
you're the technology guy. Your bandwidth is supposed to be really big. We're losing you.
I got like 4 kids at home doing homework and playing video games. So you saw one come through picking up a paper that for high school they were working on. So, all right. So we still have a motion on the table. Any other question, discussion? All right, then we'll go ahead and vote on the motion for the board to approve the graduation ceremony as outlined in the draft plan and direct, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch the tail end of that, direct the,
Administration to make any
logical changes
logistical changes they feel warranted.
perfect, thank you. All right, so no other discussion, then we'll go ahead and vote on all in favor. If you can raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye. Looks like every board member has their hand up for the record. So it does pass unanimously. So very good. Thank you. All right. Then we will move to the next item on the agenda, public comment. So again, for any members of the public that would like to comment, please keep it to 2 minutes or less. Announce yourself, name and address. And then if you can either wave in your video or raise your hand if you don't have the video on so we can see. And we'll unmute you so you can talk. We still have a few members of the community here with us. All right, I don't see anyone. All right, very good. Then we'll move on to board member comment. So any board member, I won't go around, but any board member, any final comments?
I have one. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
So my comment was going to be, I know our next meeting is scheduled for what, the 19th? And
Third.
right, and then there's
Yeah.
I don't know, you mentioned about this something on the 16th, but that's a joint meeting between Easton and Reading, and if we get joined to that, then it becomes a special meeting. But regardless, I think it might be in our best interests to hold a special meeting at some point prior to the 19th. And I'll tell you why, because I'm going to beat my drum again, which is that we need to figure out before June 30th what we're going to need to spend money on in order to, in other words, I heard Jen say we have masks for people that show up, but we're going to need thousands of masks. We're going to need masks for athletics. We're going to need masks for the school. We're going to need various sizes of masks. We're going to need gloves. We're going to need face shields. We're going to need plexiglass. There's a lot of infrastructure and a lot of PPE related expenses that we need to order now. And not just so that we can order them now because we have the money now, but we don't know how available these items are going to be. And if you wait until next year and try to order them in September and you can't get them, then we're going to be right in the spot where that Stephanie was mentioning, where we can't open because we don't have the PPEs to allow us to open. We need to hash these things out. We need to know about the fogger, disinfectant mister. We need to know about all these things. We need to know how many days we need for staff members for additional training. We need to know what additional websites or web-based platforms, learning platforms we need to purchase. We need to know all these things, and we need to know them sooner rather than later, which is why I've been trying to push that end forward quicker. We can figure out curriculum related revisions. We can figure out a lot of the other things during the summer as we're going through. There's still time, enough time before the start of school, but we have a firm June 30 deadline with which to be able to allocate and order those resources that we are going to need. And I would urge that we keep that in the front of our mind, and that we maybe hold a meeting prior to the 19th of June, because again, when you hold it on the 19th of June, then you say, okay, everyone, you got 2 weeks and figure it out. I think it's easier if we're out in front of this a little more.
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, I think we have the tri-board or the joint board meetings on the 16th. And then our regular scheduled meeting for Region 9 is on the 23rd. So
Okay,
just
okay, so
to
the
make
ninth-
sure I'm understanding, you'd like a special meeting just on the topic of reopening or equipment
Distance
on
learning
reopening.
enhancements and facilities and PPE requirements, you know, those type of things, because the 23rd actually puts us what? 1 week before the end
1
of
week,
the
yeah.
fiscal year?
Yeah, so we would need to make any decisions or have another special meeting after that to make any other decisions on fiscal year spend, if we're going to spend anything differently.
Yeah, it would be my preference to be further out in front
Okay.
if we could. That's,
Okay, now I hear you. All right, so I'll pull the board members offline around that administration to see if we can get something scheduled. I know there are a lot of meetings between now and then, so I'll see if we can get something in. If that works for schedules, we can get quorum. Okay, other board member comment? I think, Gwen, did you have your hand
No,
up?
I'm
earlier?
good.
No, okay. Any other board member on your final comments? No, all right, very good then. I guess just my last comment again, thank you for everyone, for the community, the PTSA, police, health directors, everybody that's been participating, Jen, Gina, all the leadership, Tom, everyone that's been participating and helping pull this together. And then also on the distance learning and into school year and reopening and everything else that's going on, and continue to of all those plans. I know it's a lot of extra and the kids really appreciate it, and the community does. So I appreciate all the extra effort that everybody's putting in to try to get everything done here before the end of the year and make a good ceremony for the kids to remember. It will be rememberable one way or the other. So, very good. All right, if that's it, then our last item is adjournment. So I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Cheryl?
Cheryl, thank you. A second,
Karen.
Karen. All right, all in favor of adjournment, say aye. See hands. It's like everybody unanimous. So we are adjourned at 6:07 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. And thank you.
thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Gina? Oh, is she still there? No.